Hello there, Minnesota Vikings faithful. You are listening to the Purple People podcast. This is our first episode post-draft, and I know I am excited. I know Adam Carlson is excited. We are ready
Absolutely.
to talk some Vikings football and welcome 10 new players to the Minnesota Vikings.
Absolutely. I'd like to welcome everyone to episode number 99 of the Purple People podcast. We're almost at that century mark.
Mm-hmm.
Who thought it would have happened? But we've titled this episode Draft Day. Why not, right? I haven't seen the movie. I'm assuming it's fantastic. It's about the Cleveland Browns, so why not, right?
I haven't seen the movie. I will wait until that one hits DVD. That'll be a good one to buy used from the video store.
Absolutely. Or download illegally.
No,
borrow from a friend.
support your local video store.
All right, let's get into these draft picks because we are going to have a lot to say about a lot of these guys. The Vikings started out in the first round with pick number 8. They pulled what seems to be a new Minnesota Vikings tradition and traded down one spot with the Cleveland Browns.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up with pick number 9, where the Minnesota Vikings selected outside linebacker Anthony Barr. Now, I was a bit surprised, but I should have expected it when, in a presser, Rick Spielman said, there's a guy that you're forgetting in all these mock drafts.
Yeah, I heard those comments too. First rounds, I know a lot of fans, myself included, emotions run high when it comes to the picks. We read so many mocks that you kind of start to buy into what direction you think the team should going. Now that it's been done, you can step back and go, weren't we really all kind of talking about the Vikings need to improve at linebacker all along? And that's exactly what they did.
Well, not only did they improve at linebacker, but with the selection of Anthony Barr, they actually improved at defensive end as well. Because we will see situations, like in the past, when Everson Griffin will be moved inside on pass rushing downs, and we will just see just this speed rush package going after the quarterback on situations where it's like third and long. And this is something that Mike Zimmer absolutely loves, is putting pressure on quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And Anthony Barr, although he's very rough, he's only played linebacker for 2 years. He's a former running back. The guy's got a freak of nature as far as talent. He's got speed. He's got athleticism. He's got agility. He needs a coaching staff to help him realize this potential, and Mike Zimmer is willing to take this on. One of the really cool things that I read about Anthony Barr in this draft was how the Minnesota Vikings said they were not leaving this draft without Anthony Barr.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome.
And they were able to trade down one spot and get him.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me so much of the Matt Khalil deal from a couple of years back.
Yeah, 2 seasons ago. Yep.
And to me, I like the move, but I'm really interested to see what they have in store for Anthony Barr going forward.
I can give you a little bit of a hint, Adam. I don't know if you've listened to all of Zimmer's conferences, whatever, that have been posted in the past couple of days, but the one where he talks about Anthony Barr, he basically says, he's very excited for him to be on the team, and that he's already penciled in 3 different spots that he plans on playing him on the defense. So It's Coach Zimmer's first pick as the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings is definitely a Mike Zimmer player. Like you said, here's a guy who you're going to see him at linebacker, but you're going to see him, who knows how he's going to use him, but he will be used to his fullest potential, and it'll be fun. It will be fun to see this new defense.
I can't wait to see a receiving tight end or a small running back trying to block Anthony Barr, rushing the quarterback from the same side as Brian Robinson, or from the same side as even Everson Griffin, because it is going to create such mismatch problems, and that quarterback's going to have hot reads to get that ball out fast. And this is what Mike Zimmer wants, is a defense that makes the quarterback make decisions fast and throw the ball and make mistakes. As if you haven't noticed, it seems like Zimmer's theme throughout free agency and the draft was to improve that defensive line and get that pass rush set.
Well, most definitely. But there was a few additions to the offense in the draft. which brings us to the second first-round pick, because, hey, it wouldn't be a Rick Spielman draft if he didn't trade back up into the first round to
Absolutely
snag another
not.
player. You know who we got, Adam?
I do.
I bet you were excited for this one. You're the first person I thought of when it happened.
I was jumping up and down, and the Packer fans that I was with at the draft party were hanging their head in shame. They said, if there was one player I don't want the Vikings to walk out of here with, it's Teddy Bridgewater. And there it was, number 32 in the first round, Teddy Bridgewater.
Awesome. Can you believe that he fell all the way to 32 and they were
now,
able
let's
to
talk
grab
about
him?
why the Vikings got him at 32.
Because he's a damn good quarterback.
Well, not only that, but the Vikings needed to jump ahead of teams like the Texans and, of course, the Raiders, other teams with quarterback needs. But the most important reason why the Vikings jumped ahead was so that they could get that fifth-year option on the quarterback so they can keep him there if he tends to succeed now. I mentioned earlier how Mike Zimmer said that he wanted to walk out of there with Anthony Barr. Teddy Bridgewater was the dream of the offensive coordinator, Norv Turner. I guess Norv Turner was so impressed with Teddy Bridgewater at the personal practices and everything that he said he loves working with him. At first, a couple weeks ago, they said that they were willing to redshirt any quarterback they draft for a year with Matt Castle. Not even 2 days passed after the drafting of Teddy Bridgewater before that whole thing was changed. Now it's an open competition. You're going to see Castle, Bridgewater, and Ponder battling it out, and whatever bodies they bring in for camp,
not so
of
much
course.
Ponder. I gotta veto the Ponder thing there.
Hey, if he can come in and dominate, gotta give him a fair shot, right?
I will eat my hat that I am wearing if that.
I don't recommend you do that.
No, I don't want to. I like this hat.
But all the concerns about Teddy Bridgewater are definitely under the bridge now. Small hands,
water
big whoop.
under the bridge, as one would say.
He's got to wear a glove, big deal. He's got knobby knees, oh no.
Hey, you know what? Now that he's a Minnesota Viking, I have no concerns about Teddy Bridgewater.
He's already said that he wanted to bulk up to about 225, which is around Dante Culpepper weight when he first came in, if I remember right. He's already got all his stuff packed up, moving to Minneapolis.
He loves the team. He loves the family-friendly atmosphere here. He seems to just really want to be a Minnesota Viking.
Absolutely. After he was drafted, he said that he knew in his heart that he was coming to Minnesota.
Yeah. I believe he said something like there were 5 different visits that the team hosted him on, on 5 separate occasions, and that he just really felt all along that it was going to be Minnesota that was going to take him.
Absolutely.
So I wish he would have worn purple on draft day. That would have been awesome, like, Matt Khalil did, but of course everyone knew, and Khalil was going so early that he was going to be a Viking, so he can get away with it.
Now, not all Viking fans are very happy with the drafting of Teddy Bridgewater. Many, many Vikings fans are still going off absolutely crazy, insanely mad that the Vikings didn't get Johnny Manziel from Texas A&M in this draft. And to me, Bridgewater was my man all along. So I'm pleased, but I know what it's like to go into a draft and not have your man selected, the one that you got a little bit of a man crush on. So I know how that can be. Doesn't feel good.
And look, supposedly we were this close to seeing Johnny Manziel as a Minnesota Viking, depending how much you want to read into them trying to trade up to that number 22 overall pick. It was getting reported by some pretty big sources out there on Twitter.
There were reports that the Vikings were trying to trade up, but all the reports that they were trying to trade up for Manziel have been unsubstantiated. So,
but I would imagine that would have been who that they were trading up for. But like I said, without being in that room, you don't know.
No.
But there's a good possibility that maybe they thought the Browns were going to take Bridgewater. They had Teddy as their highest rated quarterback on the board, and we're trying to get up to 22 to grab Teddy Bridgewater.
That's one of the things we'll never know.
And then lucked out in their eyes that, Browns took Manziel, worked out, they were still able to get the quarterback that they wanted. But
Right.
either way,
Vikings fans should be excited. They have a potential quarterback of the future now, a
mhm.
young, accurate passer with tons of pocket presence, can make reads pre and post snap. This is a guy that could really help the Vikings excel, and I do have a gut feeling that he will win the starting job this season. So watch for it,
Mhm.
because camp and preseason should be very interesting this year.
Can't wait to get up to Mankato. I already got my Teddy Bridgewater jersey ordered it
Nice.
just now, so I look forward to rooting for him. Hopefully get a chance to meet him, get a photo with him and Anthony Barr and all the other rookies, and yeah,
Oh, that'd be
I'm ready
fantastic.
for it. Okay.
Now, the Vikings gave up their second rounder when they traded up to get
Mhm.
Teddy Bridgewater. They also had the fourth rounder in there to trade up to get that. And when you think about it, a second and a fourth to move back into the first is almost nothing. The Vikings got an excellent steal on that trade.
Mhm. And like we said, they had to because one of those teams early on at the beginning of the second was going to end up taking him if they did not jump ahead and get back
Absolutely.
into the tail end of the first round.
I mean, we saw the Raiders take Derek Carr,
Hmm.
so there's no doubt in my mind they would have taken Bridgewater over Carr.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
But then the third round came along, and most Vikings fans were expecting a corner, a safety, middle linebacker, something like that. Instead, we got a guy that was dropping on a lot of boards, and Scott Crichton, the defensive end from Oregon State. Now, I had Crichton personally going in my mock drafts towards the end of the first round, so when he was available in the third, I was absolutely excited, and when I heard his name called, I I was very surprised because I thought the Vikings were done with pass rushers.
Well, you can see them sticking to their theory of best player available. We're not going to reach for perceived areas of need. Like if they had him as their highest rated player on the board, and this is I think it was Warren Sapp that I'm going to paraphrase here, who said, when you think you've got enough defensive linemen, sign another one. Like you can never have enough guys to get after the quarterback. You can't. Like you just
I
can't.
feel bad for all the free agents and people brought into camp to compete for jobs at defensive end because the Vikings have one heck of a rotation on defensive end, and it's going to be tough to get a job there away from all those guys.
It is, but you know what? Competition breeds success.
Scott Crichton is one of the
Uh-huh.
hardest working guys in this draft. If you take a look at his game footage, you'll see a player very similar to Brian Robinson.
Hmm.
And that is something that the Vikings pride themselves on because Brian Robinson really kind of portrays Minnesota in the way he plays. He's hard nosed, he's blue collar.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he's a Viking. Like
Yeah,
Viking
absolutely.
Minnesota Viking personified. I know Twitter kind of went into a big uproar when they drafted, another defensive end so early. And I don't think it's really sunk in for a lot of fans yet what exactly you should be expecting out of a Mike Zimmer defense. And that means rotation, rotation, rotation.
Fresh
Like,
guys, fresh legs.
yes,
Absolutely.
the notion of having Jared Allen, Kevin and Pat Williams playing 95% of your snaps out there on the field is over. Like that's gone. Like we're gonna get guys in and out, in and out, in and out. Fresh guys out there. He's gonna rotate. There's gonna be different looks. You're gonna see
Yep.
different guys in different spots, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Mike Zimmer defenses are designed to confuse offensive linemen,
Hmm.
to make them game plan for something, but get something else.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to game plan for a rotation.
Hmm.
When you know that you're lining up against Jared Allen, you can watch tape on him. You can try to figure out
You
what
get
he's
his
going to do.
tendencies. That was my biggest complaint with the Minnesota Vikings underneath Leslie Frazier. Too predictable.
Yep.
Predictability killed the team. Plenty of talent that was on that Frazier squad, but it was too predictable. You knew what he was going to do. You knew what Bill Musgrave was going to do.
Yep.
Hmm.
Speaking of Bill Musgrave, he's gone, but he
He,
was replaced, and so was the Vikings running back as a backup after Adrian Peterson. The Vikings drafted with the 32nd pick of the third round, number 96 overall, Jerrick McKinnon, the running back from Georgia Southern. This was the only pick in this draft that I really had an issue with.
Oh.
Because I felt that it was a reach for several reasons. The guy was a freak at the combine. His measurables are off the chart. But he doesn't catch passes in the backfield. He doesn't know how to block on third downs. How is this guy going to be your third down back when he's such a project? I don't understand taking him there when there were more polished prospects like Kadeem Carey available when they selected Jerrick McKinnon. I know that maybe they see something that I don't. Maybe they worked out with him and we're throwing him passes and saying, hey, this looks good, and put him in blocking situations and thought, okay, we can work with this. But from what I've seen on tape, to be honest, from my perspective, I wasn't very impressed.
Well, I tell you what, I kind of like the pick. I understand the points that you made are all really valid points, and I'm not gonna argue any of them. But I just like the idea of having this little short back that you can bring out there that under North Turner can be a little bit of your scat back to get
Let me
out
ask you
there.
a question.
He's a bit of a gadget guy. He played a bunch of different positions that you don't quite know how they're going to use him. Like, I like that. I like
From
that.
what you saw on tape from him, do you think that he's an upgrade to Bradley Randall?
Honestly, no, because I'm a big Bradley Randall fan.
I think Bradley Randall would have made more sense just to hold on to him and use him in those situations, since he's already a good pass blocker. He's already good at catching the ball. This is a guy that they really could have used instead of using a third-round draft pick on a project running back. But he could very well develop into a fantastic back and make me eat my words. And that's what I'm hoping happens.
I believe they drafted him on his, like you said, the phenomenal numbers that he was able to post in the, what do you call it, the scouting?
Yeah,
scouting
based on his
combine.
speed and
Yep. It's just
agility and all that.
The potential for him to be something special, I think, is really good.
Yeah, the potential's there.
Mm-hmm.
But if he can realize it or not, that's the question.
Can we talk about David Yankey?
Oh.
We're talking about a guard, David Yankey. Talk about a guy that here's a Minnesota Viking. He just sounds like it. He looks like it. He is one. I like this. This might be my favorite late round pick of the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, it is my favorite late round pick. I had him slated as a late second round selection. I actually would have been fine if the Vikings had gotten him with their first pick of the third round, or had, traded to lower in the second. Mm-hmm. And to me, Yankey is a guy that will be able to step in right away and take over for Charlie Johnson.
He's an upgrade over Charlie Johnson. I agree. And he's a versatile guy, too. That's what I like about him.
He is a road grader. Not only that, but he's a road grader who can pull. He's got speed and agility, mm-hmm. and he can really confuse offenses or defenses when he backs up and makes a hole for Adrian Peterson off to the side of the tackle.
Yeah, he's my kind of guy that I like to see on the line. Big, 6'6", 315 pounds, just massive mountain of a man who can get out there, push people around. I know he's got to work a bit on his technique and his footwork. He relies a bit too much maybe on his strength, but you get that technique down, you get him worked, and he'll be a fun guy to watch.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
After the Vikings selected David Yankey, my phone rang, and it was my friend Clint.
Uh-huh.
He said, the Vikings got your guy in the 5th round. I said, I know.
Uh-huh.
I can't believe it. Yankey will be a starter on this offensive line rather sooner than later. And I am absolutely psyched about having him join the team.
You remember Travis Bond? He is a more talented version of Travis Bond.
I was listening to a presser, and Rick Spielman was talking about David Yankey and how the Vikings were not planning on drafting a guard that early. But when they saw Yankey falling that far, they pulled the trigger immediately.
Like I said, best available, and yeah, definitely 5th round. hell of a talent for 5th round.
Absolutely. And now we're into the 6th round.
We just had a full discussion about a 5th round draft pick. Isn't that awesome?
And we were excited about it.
Yeah, about a guard.
But we got another reason to be excited right here. 6th round, pick number 6, number 182 overall, Anton Exum, cornerback from Virginia Tech. The Vikings have some real big plans for this guy. They are taking him from corner. They're converting him over to safety.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to try to work him in next to Harrison Smith because that safety job opposite Harrison Smith is wide open. Mm-hmm. There will be an open camp competition. Well, let's be honest here. Even Harrison Smith's job will be an open camp competition, but I don't see him losing it.
No.
But I think that Exum could be one of those guys that comes in, works hard, and if he doesn't earn the starting job this year, he'll at least be a reasonable backup. And he'll keep on fighting and fighting and fighting until one of these days he does break the starting roster. If nothing, he'll be an excellent substitute to keep that secondary fresh, and a reasonable backup, good special teamer. Mm-hmm. Anton Exum is a guy to really look forward to and watch for in training camp.
I don't know much about him yet, Adam. I haven't really had the time to sit down and do a full rundown of videos and height, weight, and everything else like I like to, but I did watch a little bit of what the Vikings posted of him over on their website, and I like his attitude most of all. When he came in and he said, I'll play corner, I'll play safety, I'll do whatever the Minnesota Vikings want me to do, and I'm going to do it the best of my abilities. You want me to play special teams, I'll be the best player on special teams.
Yep.
That attitude alone, I like that.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then the Vikings had another pick in the 6th round, number 8. It was pick number 184 overall, mm-hmm. Kendall James, the cornerback from Maine. I'll be absolutely honest, I have not done a ton of research on Kendall James. I don't see him really breaking a starting roster or anything like that, but if anything else, he's really good competition to bring in. When Rick Spielman was drafting and talking about these late-round draft picks, he said, the key to late-round picks is bulk. You bring in as many bodies as you can mm-hmm. and see what sticks and what fits. And that's one reason why we saw Spielman trading down so many times in the late rounds, is so he could bring all these bodies into camp and try them out.
I don't know anything about him, but just looking at his height, weight, 5'10", 180, to me, I'm looking at a league that's going towards throwing passes to bigger and bigger tight ends, bigger and bigger wide receivers, and it's harder and harder for the little guys like your Antoine Winfields to be out there covering these larger targets like that. So I think that's going to make it harder for a guy like him to be effective in today's NFL. I would rather take a shot on give me a bigger, more physical corner and give him a shot as opposed to a smaller one. But Vikings fans, we've seen what someone like an Antoine Winfield can do and know that...
Or a Captain Munnerlyn.
Captain Munnerlyn, yep. So if the talent is there, they can still be very effective.
Very, very true.
But in the 6th round, I would rather have a bigger guy. To be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we entered round 7 after that. The Vikings had 3 picks in round 7. With the 5th pick of that round, number 220 overall, they took Shamar Stephen, defensive tackle from UConn. Let's be honest, he'll be another camp body fighting for a position.
Gonna be tough. Tough road to plow. Yep.
He's got to be awesome on special teams or be able to contribute some way for the Vikings to take a good, solid look at him. Mm-hmm. We're getting to that point now where it really is just throwing darts at the board and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, we're down to the guys that, they're fighting, like you said, fighting for a spot in like training camp cuts, like spots, but guys who have the potential to maybe flash enough to earn a spot on the practice squad.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the other one, kind of like our 2nd, 7th round pick, number 8 overall, number 8 in that round, number 223 overall, Brandon Watts, the outside linebacker from Georgia Tech, and the 7th round pick, number 10 overall, number 225, Jabari Price, the cornerback. Now we'll group them together because I don't know much really about either of them.
Yep.
I haven't had a ton of time to do research on them. Believe it or not, I've been kind of busy between writing articles about how people are mad that the Vikings didn't pick Johnny Manziel and how Teddy Bridgewater is taking his glove with him to Minnesota and arguing with people over why Teddy Bridgewater isn't the next Donovan McNabb.
Oh, or Tavares Jackson. There's some stupid comments out there, but we'll stay away from that for a minute. I like the fact that the Vikings are stockpiling corners. Don't you?
Well, it's competition.
Yeah.
And the entire Vikings organization has been talking about competition, bringing in people to make everybody better. And whether it's Jabari Price or Kendall James or whoever they bring in at cornerback, it'll help for competition because right now we're looking at Xavier Rhodes, Captain Munerlin. Help me out here.
Marcus Sherrills.
Sean Prater.
Don't forget about
Josh
Sean
Robinson.
Josh Robinson.
There are plenty of
Chris
guys
Cook.
in camp.
Oh, no, wait.
Man.
We nixed Chris Cook.
So there will be a ton of competition in camp, and really we're going to see a lot of the defensive ends on this team taking up some of the spots on special teams. So it will be hard for these guys to win spots. But like always, it's so much fun to watch preseason and training camp and pick out guys that you're like, okay, that guy can be a winner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that some of these guys can step up and make me feel that way.
Me too. My big hope is that the Vikings don't try to play the game too much like what they did last year, and that is slide people onto the practice squad and then watch them get poached back off the practice squad by other teams. I was a big fan of Travis Bond. Now, I think ultimately it worked out because we got David Yankey. I think he's a better player, bigger potential than what Travis Bond has, but I still would have liked to have seen Bond get an actual shot with this team.
It was the same situation with me and Bobby Felder.
Yes.
Who Bobby Felder is now a free agent, so it could be something the Vikings may see him come back.
Mm-hmm. You never know.
And I wanted to add one more thing before I was done for the day. Now, if you follow my work on the Viking Age, you'd probably have seen that I did probably close to 70 draft profiles of players that I thought were the best prospects. Now, 70 prospects, that's only like the first 2 rounds. Out of the 70 profiles that I did, 4 of those players are now Minnesota Vikings.
Nice.
Anthony Barr, Teddy Bridgewater, Scott Crichton, and David Yankey. Really, the Vikings hit the nail on the head and hit the jackpot with many of these picks, especially their early picks. The late round picks, like I said, we'll find out more about them later.
It's a crapshoot.
The only pick that I really still am a bit confused by is the McKinnon pick. But like I said, that's something that he'll have to prove me wrong.
We'll see how that plays out. We'll see how that dynamic shakes out. But, now that you mention it, actually, using a 3rd round pick to potentially bring in competition for Bradley Randall, it does seem a little kooky, but hey, you know what? He's a Viking now, so we'll see.
His physical attributes are off the charts. He might be a project. He might be something that they can mold into even a starter down the road. But for when they cut Adrian Peterson, right?
Don't
read into that too much. Come on.
Should we let everyone know what we just joked about right there? All the influx.
Go ahead.
There, for some odd reason, it's every couple months it seems to pop up that someone will write an article that, in the next couple years the Vikings are going to have to trade Adrian Peterson because of his contract, or they're going to have to outright cut Adrian Peterson because he's going to turn 30 and then he's just going to forget how to play football. And it's just silly to me.
It is.
Just silly. You're talking about one of the best running backs
of all time.
The face of the Minnesota Vikings, and we're just going to trade him so that
We're just gonna cut him so we don't have to take an $11 million cap hit.
Yeah, you know what? He's worth it. I don't care what I don't care
Absolutely crazy.
I don't care what other running backs have done at age 30. We're talking about Adrian Peterson at age 30. It's a little bit different than say, I don't know, Sean Green.
It's true.
Yeah.
Tune in next week. We'll be doing episode 100. We'll be talking about the undrafted free agents that were brought in because there are some really interesting names on that list.
There's some people I'm excited about on that one.
We'll also be coming back with quick hits. Maybe we'll even have a guest. You never know.
Yeah, we can have all kinds of things.
So tune in next week, and remember to stay classy, Minnesota.